This show is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Visit betterhelp.com/kindoffunny because honestly, being a human is exhausting.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my Xbox and my two gaming dads. It's Snowbike Mike, joined alongside my two dudes, Gary Whitta and Parris Lilly. Parris Lilly and Gary Whitta, we are back for a true episode of the Kind of Funny Xcast. No special guests, no nothing, just you and me, you two. Let's start off with Gary Whitta. How are you feeling this week? It's nice to have you back.
I know I've been absent for the past almost like 2-3 weeks almost. I don't know how long it's been, but I know I've been away for at least a couple. Scheduling's not been my friend recently. I've been too busy, but I am very glad to be back with the it's all about family, Mike, as you know, and the Xcast family is back together as it should be.
Are you too busy watching a Matrix 4 or visiting the Matrix set or anything like that?
Yeah, kind of revisiting my many fond memories of being on that Matrix 4 set. I know Parris doesn't like it when we bring it up, I try not to.
Actually, I absolutely love it. It is one of the most fascinating things ever. The way you casually dropped it. I still can't get it out of my head.
All I'll say is just based on the teeny tiny thing that I mean, on one day's shooting you don't see very much, but from the little that I saw, I think we're all in for a treat.
Oh, wow, Parris. Okay, he's going to drop us with that. All right. Parris, it's nice to see you back. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. It has been a great week of gaming. I'm excited to talk about it.
Parris, you're right. This week's episode of the Kind of Funny Xcast is all about games. We even have a special guest, Greg Miller, joining us to talk about the Ascent. But man, oh man, it's been a big week of games over here on the Xbox side, and we're going to talk all about it, and we're going to bring the hype for Halo Infinite because the flight is now available. But before all that, we got to shut it down because there's even bigger news than Halo, than the Ascent, than Microsoft Flight Simulator. Gary, this story is for you, and it's something big because Xbox has a new product. It's a donut, Gary. Donuts. Krispy Kreme and Xbox have teamed up together only in the UK so our friends across the pond can get to enjoy this special Nexus level Xbox themed donut. Gary, you brought this to me. Tell me, would you eat this Xbox donut?
I was going to say, you don't need to tell me, Mike. I'm the one that put this on the radar. I was the one that was like immediately to the Xcast Slack channel saying, hey, this is the, forget about Halo Infinite test flight. This clearly is the biggest Xbox story of the week. Xbox donuts. Obviously disappointing to see that it's only in the UK right now. Looks like the Xbox UK marketing team has been coming up with some fun ideas, and it's got like the Xbox logo on the donut. Look, Xbox and donuts, right? Two great tastes that taste great together. Like what's not to like? I do hope they bring it here to the US. As we keep saying, this is the 20th anniversary of the Xbox, so plenty of excuses for all kinds of celebrations. You got the Xbox fridge and all kinds of wacky stuff. I think a donut would really be the perfect capper on it. Yes, I mean, I just kind of feel like I love the fact that the Xbox people right now are just doing like a lot of silly fun stuff. The fridge, the donut, who knows what's next. It's just, games are supposed to be fun, and I like the fact that a lot of the silly side stuff that they're doing reflects that,
Parris, what do you think the
Mike,
film?
I'm sorry, I got to interrupt.
Yeah, Greg Miller, get in here.
I'm waiting in the wings, obviously, for the Ascent. Obviously, that's what I'm here for. That's what I was brought on for. That's why I requested to be on this show. But it can't pass the fact that, like, Gary's like, oh, I brought this to your attention. Of course. I went back and I've scrolled back through the Xcast Slack channel, right? Here's Gary. I'm just reading them in the order they've come. This is over many weeks. Gary, what time today? Okay, we got to do this thing. Gary, on a different day. I'll check, but I might have a conflict that time on a Thursday. Gary, hey, did I mention I can't do Xcast this Friday? I'm out all day. Sorry if I forgot to mention. Gary, I have a hard out at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Then Gary, out of the blue, I know the Halo Tech preview is a big deal, but I think this is the top story of this week.
Oh, that was
First of
hilarious.
all, if you guys actually kept a goddamn regular recording date and time, I would be there more often. You guys are constantly shifting it. Now it's on a Thursday. Now it's at 1 p.m. Now it's at 3 p.m. Now it's on a Friday.
It has been on us for the last couple of weeks, Gary. It has been on us, and we apologize for that.
All right, so there's a lot. There's plenty of blame to go around. Obviously, it's hard for me to manage this podcast and my glittering show business career, but I always show up whenever possible. Here we are at the regular appointed time, and I literally ran. I took my kid to a doctor's appointment today. I ran back here and ate a McChicken faster than I've ever eaten it because that was the first time I had to eat something today. Showed up with mayonnaise on my face. I gave myself hiccups. I ate it so fast because I didn't want to keep you guys waiting. Greg, I hope that better be the last time you ever question my commitment to the Xcast.
No, it wasn't a commitment to the Xcast.
Let's not forget whose idea this podcast was in the first place.
And then out of the blue, you're like, there's a phone in everybody. Hold up.
Not for the winner, none of us would even be here. You rolled out PS I Love You XOXO. I said, where's the love for the Xbox fans as well? We got it on the thermometer. We're all here now. So, like, just, as long as you're going to fling around the accusations, just give your guy a little bit of credit here as well.
Gary, I apologize. That wasn't what I wanted you to take away from it. So I'm sorry. That's not it. Mike, I've done my best, but Amazon won't be able to get you this small violin to play for next time Gary goes on a rant about how busy and struggling. But they'll get it to you when they can.
Can we get back to the donuts, please? I feel like we're on a good thing there talking about the donuts.
Bring us back to the donuts, Gary. I mean, tell me, what's the filling going to be inside of this? Is it some sort of key lime filling?
Mike, you and I are on the same page donut-wise. That was kind of where my initial, like, all we saw was the aesthetic, right? It looks like a powdered donut with a green, the Xbox. They call it the Nexus level donut, which is, right away, like, I'm intrigued. You had my curiosity, now you have my attention. And it looks good. I'm thinking maybe some kind of green. It could just be like a green colored filling. They could also try to match the flavor with the color, go with a key lime. My wife loves key lime pie. It's her favorite dessert, so it could be a hit for her. But I'm just hoping we get to try it. I'm hoping that they roll this out in the US. Of course, obviously the UK has been setting the cultural tempo for the world for hundreds of years. But let's hope that this is not one that they get to keep just for themselves, and that we do get to see. There's a Krispy Kreme not far down the road from me. If they bring that Nexus level donut there, trust me, we'll do a special episode. We'll do a taste test. We'll do the whole 9 yards.
Live taste test. I want to be as respectful as possible, but I'm going to be real here. Like, it might just be this shot with like the green. It looks like if I like licked that right now, Mike, I feel like it would taste like how like probably like Shrek would taste, if I tried to lick Shrek.
What do you think that is, Barrett?
Not great.
I'm guessing it's like a lemon lime. I mean, but here's my guess. That the green is just green, but I think there's probably some kind of cream filling inside.
Yeah,
you know what we should do? Even if they're not, we should look. We're the Xcast. We're the premier Xbox podcast on the internet. Maybe there's some way we can get Xbox, or even someone in the UK, a fan, stick some in put some ice packs, put it in a thing, ship it out here. Let's get some shipped out here, especially for us. Why do we need to wait for the official rollout? With Xbox VIPs.
Gary Whitta won't take his family out to the movie theater because of COVID, but strangers, send him a donut.
Yeah, send me some strange donuts from across the world.
Oh my god!
I'll eat them.
Oh, wow. I'm loving the energy right now to kick it off. Let's finish with this simple question. Parris, how many of those donuts do you think you can put down in one sitting?
I don't even know. Honestly, I'm still shook by Gary. This has been epic right now. I have no idea. My wife would tell you I probably could eat a dozen in one.
Well, I think you could do a dozen easily. You'd regret it afterwards, but you could put them away.
I would absolutely regret it, but yeah, I probably could if I really wanted to.
Gary Whitta, you're the one who brought the big donut news to us. This is the big headline of the week. How many donuts can you put down?
I think I could do a dozen. I mean, again, maybe we should do some kind of challenge. There's premium content here. Like, why? This is if we're going to scarf down a dozen Xbox donuts a piece. I feel like Greg will tell you that. Like, why do that in the privacy of your own home when you can monetize it and turn it into premium content?
If you can turn your life into content, you turn your life into content. All right,
let's do it.
You guys know. Well, of course, that is the Xbox and Krispy Kreme fun Nexus level event going on over in the UK, August 2nd to the 22nd. So our friends across the pond, you can go get a cool Nexus level Xbox screen donut, and you have the opportunity to possibly win an Xbox Series S along with some Game Pass rewards and that. So something fun. Gary, great story. Great way to kick off the Xcast. But let's jump into the show because we got a lot of games to talk about. We got a special guest here with Greg Miller who wants to talk about the Ascent. But of course, this is the Kind of Funny Xcast. We post each and every Saturday at 6 a.m. West Coast, Best Coast time on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and on podcast services around the globe. Of course, the big news of the week, it's Halo Infinite Flight Weekend, and you can catch me and Tim Getty sharing the hype and having some fun over on youtube.com/kindoffunnyplays. We played this afternoon on a lovely Friday, and we got to share all of the fun. Tim got to tell me awesome stories about his old school Halo days, his excitement for the new Halo Infinite coming out, and what he thought of the flight so far. So make sure to go check it out over on our newest YouTube channel, youtube.com/kindoffunnyplays. We'd like to give a big thank you to our Patreon producers for the month of July: Marcus Stanford, Tyler Ross, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, James Hastings, Casey Andrews, and Elliot. Of course, this episode of the Kind of Funny Xcast is sponsored by Freshly, HBO Max, and Gabby, but we'll tell you all about that later on. Let's jump right in, guys. It's a big week of games over here on the Xbox side. You got Death's Door, you got Microsoft Flight Simulator, The Ascent, and now Halo Flight is now live. But we got to talk about The Ascent because Greg is here. He's played a lot of it. I know myself and Parris, we've played a lot of it. We're going to find out if Gary jumped into it. But Greg, I'll kick it off with you. The Ascent, top down, cyberpunk neon aesthetic from Neon Giant. What did you think of it?
I enjoy it. Okay. I'm not blown away. Yeah, that was the thing. You know, when Parris had come back from the preview event, I obviously listened to that Xcast. He talked it up in terms, but like set realistic expectations for what we were getting into, right? And talked about it being this cyberpunk twin stick shooter, right? Get in there and let's run around and have some fun. It's co-op. It's this, it's that. And obviously you watch trailers, you see it, and it's beautiful. It's stunning. It's got a really great art style to it. And so getting the code, sitting down and starting it with Jen playing next to me, right? We did local co-op. I was like, here we go. And I enjoy it. It is fun to play, but it lacks that oomph. It lacks hook that makes me want to go back and not be able to put it down or something like that, right? We played for 2 hours together and it was like, okay, this is fun or whatever. And we, put it down. And then Jen was like, I'm going to do something else. When I came back to it, I had a weird glitch where since we were playing together locally, when I went to start a single player, my save wasn't there. So I played through, ran into another glitch, quit out, came back. Then my campaign from before was there. I was like, okay, ran through and played from there. And, single player, it lacks something. It harkened back to this conversation Jan and I had on PS I Love You a few weeks ago about the Dark Pictures anthology, where I was talking about having such a great time with my best friend Poe playing it. And I was like, oh, we were drinking beer, we were playing the game, had a great time. And she's like, all right, cool. But is the game great or is Poe and beer great? And it's that idea, right? Of the more I thought about it and played this game, the more I've been like, oh, you know what this reminds me a lot of? Outriders, where we all got into Outriders. We all played Outriders together and had a really great time. But when you went off and played Outriders alone, maybe you're like Mike and just don't pay attention to the story at all, right? And then if you did, you're still like, what exactly is going on? The acting's not great. Da, da, da. That's what's happening here, where I, Greg Miller, Mr. Story and Games, right, am skipping everything and paging through it as quick as possible to just get back to shooting, because the shooting is fun and the leveling up is fun and getting, new abilities and buffing my stats and finding out how to, go from, okay, cool, I have this thing that's going to auto pick up loot to, oh, now I have a stasis shield for bullets. That's all good, but there's still so much around it where you're like, all right, this is fine. And I was talking to somebody else when we were playing another game last night, and one of the points they brought up is nailed it, where it's just like, I had a fine time with it and I put it down and I'm not drawn to pick it back up. But if you said, hey, let's play Ascent right now, I'd be like, let's play Ascent right now. That sounds like a great time. Am I wrong, guys?
No, I actually think you hit on it very well. And that's kind of the interesting thing that coming out of being able to play it in the preview and now to have, the final game, I pretty much agree that this is not a great single player experience. The few times that I actually have been able to get into a co-op game, I've absolutely enjoyed my time in there. I think the world that Neon Giant has built is fantastic. It's this cyberpunk world that we all were hoping that, Night City was going to be with 2077. I really feel that vibe when I'm playing. The art style is fantastic. The actual gameplay itself, the shooting feels good, when I'm doing it. Like you're saying, as you're leveling up and you're getting new weapons, you're getting new augmentations, upgrade your cyber deck for hacking, things like that. I like that. I like that loop. I like doing that. My frustration comes with two things, and Mike can kind of co-sign on this. The other night, myself, Mike, and Nick were trying to get into a co-op game. Chaos just would not work at all. So that was frustrating. When I'm playing single player, I found, and I don't know about you or anyone else, but I found I had a hard time navigating through the world as far as getting to certain points of interest. Like, oh, I want to go check out this side quest. Oh, I want to go to the bar to turn in my bounties, things like that. And I'm like, is it on the top floor? Is it below? What the hell? How am I trying to get there? There wasn't like I could set a marker and just go to this point on the map that I wanted to go to. So I didn't like that. I think the fact that they have that where you hit the D-pad and it kind of gives you that marker to get to your objective, it reminds me of Perfect Dark Zero in that way, where it was poor level design in that, to where that top-down way and is very zoomed in. You kind of don't know where you're getting to. Going back to the single player stuff, I found it frustrating. Like, it was funny. I was telling Mike, I go, this actually feels easier than the preview. But then I noticed once I got past level 10, playing by myself, it got like kind of silly hard by myself. Yeah. And I'm like, really? I was like, this isn't fun. It's like, I'm not really going to get past this unless I'm playing with other people, because no matter what I do, as far as the weapons I have, the abilities that I'm using, you've put, like, I don't know, it was like Ed 209 or whatever the hell it was. And it was like, I couldn't get past it. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then I got in a co-op match and we were able to get past it. So I feel like what Neon Giant has created as a first effort is great. It like you said, I enjoy it. I'm just not in love with it to where I want to keep going back and necessarily playing that unless it's a co-op game. I think the ultimate disappointment about this is it's not going to be an enjoyable single player experience.
Yeah, you both really said a lot that I feel on that one. And man, Parris, you hit it for me. It's like, I did not have fun playing single player. I think of all these type of top-down twin stick shooter, looter shooter games, whatever you want to call them. And like, I think the fun comes from being around your friends, right? And there's a couple of pieces that I'm going to touch on that I really enjoyed, but playing it single player, like Parris said, there was all of a sudden a difficulty spike where I had moments where I questioned, why am I doing this? Or why is it so difficult? No matter what I did, it was really a challenge to get through, like nail biting challenge. And it wasn't an enjoyable nail biting experience. And I finished on my playthrough at level 15, and there was a countdown timer of 2.5 minutes, and I had to just survive an onslaught. And it didn't even feel like it was skill required. I got by like pure luck at one point, and it was just not fun. And I'll also say on the co-op side, it's very interesting when we talk about bringing in your friends, right? And now I'm level 15, and let's say Parris is level 1, right? I have to go back and play with Parris through all of his stuff because I couldn't bring on Nick when he was level 1 or 2 into my world, because he would die immediately. There was no scaling. There was no effort for him at off. And so like he died in one shot. And then the catch is they go down, right? And so now your co-op partner is down and you need to revive them in a certain time, because if they die, the whole game is over and you have to restart from the checkpoint. So trying to bring Nick along and just like even experience it together, it was like, oh man, we can't go anywhere. And now I either have to choose to play 4.5 hours with you that I've already played, or just ditch you and play single player during the toughest part that I've experienced so far. So I really had a bad time single player, but I do want to give some props to the game because there are some really impressive moments, like Parris brought up with the world, right? That gritty, dirty, neon lit up cyberpunk world is really, really cool and fun to see, and have the moments where the camera tilts from kind of that angle down instead of the top down to different camera angles is really, really cool, and kind of strikes a chord and hits well whenever it's done. It's actually funny. It does it a couple of times. It does it a fair amount of times. And never once did I think, man, this is dumb that they're moving the camera like that. Every time I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, give me a different angle. I like this. The music struck during combat. I liked the music ramping up and getting loud in my headphones and having the bullets flying. And the other piece that I really loved was the gameplay. Something I've never seen before was the introduction of like this crouch/cover system, and the idea of lifting your weapon up and like blind firing over cover and just, trying to get down. And that's a big one for me on the single player side. It's like, it required me to go into cover all the time and just pray there was a piece of cover because I was getting torn through by the AIs. And man, there's a lot of fun, cool stuff to that too.
Yeah, well, I think that's what's interesting about it, where playing the game right. I'm talking about Outriders for a feel of it, but then for me, it feels so much like Dead Nation at times too, which I really adored, right? But in the same vein of that, like Dead Nation, what you did deal a bit with ammo scarcity, right? Like you were worried about your shots counting, whereas this does you're unlimited ammo, right, on your weapons, which I like in the way they set it up. But to your point, Mike, I also really appreciated, when they introduced, okay, well, hold the trigger, to raise your gun. Otherwise, you're hip firing. I was like, that seems like you're overcomplicating it. I don't understand why. To get on later where it was, I'm in a room and they circle around me and I need to figure out, like, it does become that, okay, how do I take out this room full of enemies? And it was, oh, okay, well, I need to take cover. And then, I need to strategically come up and do it. I was like, you know what? For a twin stick shooter, you usually don't see that kind of strategy. The strategy, obviously, I get behind cover in terms of like use the environment to block angles. Sure, you see that. But giving it that little bit of verticality actually worked. And then it did work too of like, when they start introducing more diverse enemies, where it was like, okay, cool. Like I was shooting, you get in the habit then of just pulling your gun up and shooting everybody because you're usually shooting humanoids that are closer to you. But then all of a sudden there's little people who are running around. They're like little crab people, and they're like dropping the towers and they're healing people. And like you have to drop your gun. And I was like, man, this is actually keeping me on my toes to pay attention to new classes of enemies and how to engage with them.
Yeah, I would co-sign that too. Like exactly what you're saying. I love the verticality of the cover system. And like you said, the little Mogwai Ewok dudes, when they come in and you realize you have to crouch down to be able to actually shoot them, and then they can also generate like that shield stuff. Like, again, the gameplay of it is fun as hell. I don't dispute that at all. I just think there's some quality of life things in there that they could have tuned up a little bit better. Like, again, going back to the thing, like I said, with Mike and Nick, we're trying to get into co-op. So the one cool thing they have is if you have the Xbox version, you can play on the Xbox app and play with people on console. Now, if you get it on Steam, you're locked into Steam as far as doing it in co-op. I wish they had true crossplay in that way, but I'm finding even in the Xbox, just trying to do crossplay, or not even crossplay, just trying to do co-op on Xbox was kind of hit or miss for me. Mm-hmm. I would say it was more than 50%, but there was definitely about a good 25% there where it just wouldn't work. It just would completely fail. Like that night that we were trying, Mike, you'd invite me, I try and jump in, nothing. I try and start my own co-op match, nothing. So, and I understand it's still early days and, they can patch some of that stuff, but that doesn't encourage me to want to go jump back in because, again, the story's pretty much forgettable, but I think the world building is there. I think there's so much potential in this world of the Ascent. So I do hope Neon Giant does something else here with it. Maybe there'll be some expansions, DLC or whatever, but there's definitely some quality of life stuff they'll need to clean up for sure.
It's interesting you bring up the story, and that was one thing, Greg talked about and you've talked about, and I was like, I actually tried my best to pay attention to it, and I kind of got wrapped up in it and enjoyed it, right? I think, like you said, there's some really cool world building. The first character you meet, his name is Poon, and you're like, excuse me? And then all of a sudden you meet him, and then you go meet one of the hackers that is just having like this loud dubstep Jamaican music, and you're like, okay, this is a different vibe than what I've been accustomed to. And following the story of this big massive conglomerate all of a sudden just disappearing, and now these different groups that kind of run who you are, this person that comes to this planet for safety, but also has to work now essentially as a slave. And it's like everybody's vying to try to take over now. And so you work with Poon, and then there's another group that comes in, and they're like, no, you're going to work for us now. And I'm like, what is happening? And so I've enjoyed the kind of intrigue of the story so far. But man, oh man, if it wasn't so difficult, I think I'd be into it more. I look forward to playing it co-op with others because we were playing it early and there was such a small, limited number of people I could play. But the gameplay is interesting. The look is really cool. I just can't get past how punishing it was for me to play by myself.
Yeah, and like I told you before, ironically enough, when I did that preview, it was even more punishing in the preview. So they did tone it down. But I think this is clearly a game meant for co-op. Even with that, they got to get some kind of scaling in there, because if we're not at the same level, like you said, Nick came in fresh as a one, he was getting slaughtered the second that he came in. So it's like the point if I can't play with my friends and if I got to wait for him to get to where I am, now I'm stopping my progress instead of us being able to progress and play together at various levels. That would be the ideal situation.
I want to bring up with both of you really quick a couple of pieces that I noticed from character customization to augmentation. So when you first create your character, you pick 2 primary colors, right? And that kind of sticks with you. And I think Greg will remember this, the transmogging from Diablo and World of Warcraft. And so you look at this of like, it's not quite transmogging where you always have that gear piece, but you always have those colors. And I found that really interesting of like, no matter what gear I picked up, sure, my look might be a little bit different, but I was always that green guy, right? I had all green on. I was always, exactly. I was always on brand. And I did find it cool that you could change that up with a certain person inside of the shops. But what did you guys think of always having that color tied to you along with the gear? Did you like that? Did you not like, oh, here's the mix and match styles of level 1 through 10 Diablo type game where you don't look quite right?
I love the color part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that was a great way that when you picked up gear and you put it on, you were able to see it right away in whatever you chose. And obviously you can jump in and change that. I think, they do a great job with not locking you into decisions, right? To compare it to, at least a little bit on this level to Cyberpunk, right? Like there was, when I was chasing the platinum, and I don't look at trophies usually ahead of time for spoilers, right? There was a choice I had made that benefited me that could have locked me out of getting a trophy, right? Because you have to pick a certain thing to have the skill points to go do the thing. Whereas this is very forgiving in terms of, all right, cool. From a color thing, yeah, you can change your colors whenever you want to, but also you can change what you're doing here. You can go to a Ripper Dock. You can get in there. You can actually, change the character to not only what you want in the moment, but also then to what could benefit you in it. But in terms of just the transmog stuff, yeah, I think, of course, and again, we're talking about a game that's made by less than a dozen people, right? It's 11 people, I think, on this team. Where I think it's lacking in a lot of options. I think, you know what I mean? Like Jen and I make characters and like we make different things, but they look pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, all right, cool. We are pretty far out in all these shots. So it's like, did you even need to go to that level? Could we have done whatever? But like the gear, I liked going in it. I like getting the looks. I like finding the new buffs. Is this going to be good against electricity or for physical damage and stuff like that? Like it has that there. I don't think obviously it's anywhere near as diverse as something like Diablo, but I liked it.
Yeah, and then also, of course, the I forget what they're called, the augmentations, where essentially they're your 2 special skills, right? And I found that to be cool, like you said, Greg, right? I'm not picking a paladin or a warrior, a certain class, right? It is, here's your guy. You can spec him out how you want. You can pick these special augmentations. And, you start off with the big kind of falcon punch, right? And I think everybody gets that first thing and you grow from there. And then it's moved on. And I did find some really cool moments in that of like picking what you want to bring up. Like you talked about your shield, Greg, of like slowing all down the bullets and deflecting them. I had a rocket barrage, which was really cool. I actually had a call-in robot buddy that took a lot of the pressure off me in some of those high, difficult settings. And I really liked what they put into that. That really was enjoyable to me. And I look forward to kind of playing in a co-op setting of like, what did everybody pick? What could we mix and match to make some fun? I think that led to a lot of cool choice options that I look forward to now.
Yeah, I won't repeat everything both of you said. I pretty much agree with all of it. But I do want to circle back to one thing that Greg said, because I think this is important in this game in this sense. Like you said, only 11 or 12 people made this game. And while that's not an excuse to kind of forget some of the faults that we do see in the game, I am still very impressed that 11 or 12 people made this game. On this scale. It's very impressive to me. And like I said, I do enjoy the Ascent. Like I see so much potential with the Ascent. It just needs some quality of life stuff. I keep going back to that. I think the short term, if they could kind of figure out the scaling for both single player and with co-op, so that it doesn't matter what level we're at, we all get to play together. I think that would be ideal. And then obviously there's some other things they can do just in level design, navigating it. Like I said, simply adding a marker to like, I want to go to that bar. I can set a marker to it so I know where I'm going versus trying to figure out what level I'm on, things like that. So the potential's there, absolutely. And I love the game. Yeah, go ahead.
And I think a lot, it's another one of those games that I look at and I go, man, well, it's a great Game Pass game, right? Because it is the idea of like, I think, don't get me wrong, I enjoy this. And I think especially if you had a group of friends that are going to be committed to only playing with each other. So like you're talking about, you don't get into these level chasms. You're going to be in a good shape to have fun with it. But especially for Game Pass to jump in and do it, let alone, if they go through and they update it and they do this. Because like quality of life is something that's lacking in this game. It's very menu heavy. It's cumbersome at times. I'm right there with you in terms of the map where I was like, I know there's this metro station right there. How do I get it? And so I'm running into corners, like looking around, like, where's the staircase for this?
So right now, before we all go, I know Greg Miller's got to get to his weekend. Right now, over on Metacritic, which is not the end-all, be-all, make sure to go listen to all of your favorite podcasters, your favorite different sites to go catch their reviews and their thoughts. But right now, Metacritic score for the critic side is at 75. Parris, Lily, your final thoughts, and what do you think about that 75? Do you agree with that?
I think that's fair. Just as we talk about some of the things that we didn't like versus the things that we like, that seems like a pretty reasonable score in the grand scheme of things. My final thought on it, and this kind of leans back into what Greg was just saying. I mean, this is another game that it's $30 if you buy it outright. It is on Game Pass. It is worth trying, especially if you have a group of friends. Go try it, jump in together. I do think you'll have a good time while you're playing it. And I see the potential of it. So I really hope Neon Giant continues in this world and just continues to listen to community feedback and build on it, because I do think they can create something really special with the Ascent in that world.
Greg, same question for you to round it out.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think I might be a bit more towards the 70 on the Metacritic side if I was still scoring at IGN. But like, I don't think a 75 is outrageous by any stretch of the imagination. I think, I think you can take what we've said and obviously what other people have said and apply it to your own use case. Where, if you have a friend who's always looking for co-op, if you're looking to jump into something and go for it, for sure. Like, you know what I mean? I think it worked that way. I had fun playing with Jen. I had more fun, I think, than she did. But I think one of her turnoffs to it was what is going on in these menus? Where is this? What, blah, blah, blah. And like, if they can go in there and fix those things, great. And if they can't, then it's just a fun game to play on Game Pass. And again, like, I think it's interesting because it's one of those guiltless abandonments where it's like, cool, I played that game through level 12 or 13. I forget what my character was, right? And I enjoyed my time with it, but I don't feel like I've walked away not knowing something. I didn't leave something on the table. Like, I get what the game is. I understand what the game is. I understand that there's obviously moves and weapons and stuff I didn't see, and I could have leveled up to be way stronger and yada, yada, yada. But like, I feel good about what that game is and what I played with it. And if Mike hits me up one day and is like, hey, let's stream it. Awesome. Cool. I'm ready to jump back in that world. And if I don't touch it until they do stuff to it or never touch it again, that's fine. So I like the Ascent. I just don't love it.
Greg Miller, thank you so much for joining us here on the Kind of Funny Xcast. It's always great to have your voice and your insights over on the Xbox side. It's always fun to hear you hanging out with us. So have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you soon.
All right, take care, everybody. Gary, I'll get you these donuts, I swear.
Thanks, buddy.
Mr. Witter, I want to kick it to you really quick. Of course, you were kind of quiet throughout this. Just want to get your gauge. Have you played the Ascent? And if you haven't, does listening to Parris, myself, and Greg with our assessment of that get you interested at all?
No, I mean, so I didn't get a chance to play it yet, and I took the opportunity to just kind of like sit back and listen during this conversation because, I respect your opinion, I respect Parris's opinion, Greg's, but all three together, you start to put together a consensus, and it sounds like you all kind of agree on the big issues. Bottom line, the conversation that I just heard did not sell me on playing this game, and it's not that it seems like it's a bad game. There's actually some stuff in there that originally kind of piqued my interest. I like twin stick isometric games. I like the cyberpunk vibe. I actually saw a piece, I think it was on Kotaku earlier this week, that said they thought that the Ascent did a better job of kind of presenting the cyberpunk dystopia than Cyberpunk 2077 did. So that all sounded good. But then I saw Greg earlier in the week tweeting about how he thought the story was kind of meh. He likes story in games. I like story in games. If the story's not there, it's gonna be a struggle, for me to engage with the game. The biggest problem is this, like 75% on Metacritic, that sounds decent. You guys, it's like, you said you like it, but you don't love it. The problem is these days, that's not good enough because these games don't exist in a vacuum, right? I've only got so many hours in the day. I've struggled to find time to play any games this week because I've got so much going on. When I finally sit down, I'm thinking I'm going to sit down this weekend and try to knock some games out. I'm looking at just purely looking at stuff that came out on Game Pass like in the last week or so. Death's Door, The Last Stop, Flight Simulator. These are all games that I want to play. Those all appeal to me more than the Ascent does. So like, it's tough out there. You know, there's so many good games coming out. Game Pass is, you know, again, we talk about how it makes it easier to sample games, but it also makes it harder, I think, for some games to break through when there's so much competition around. So it sounds good, but it's like there would have to be not much else out there for me to play to think, oh, I'll give the Ascent a try. If I'm listening to you guys talking about this and going, you know, it's kind of okay but not great. Why would I dive into that when I've got Death's Door over here that everyone is saying is truly great? Like, you know, again, we've only got so many hours in the day. Every game is up against every other game that's out there in terms of competing for your time. You know, time's the one commodity you never get back, right? Once it's wasted, it's wasted. So this weekend, I'm probably going to, for me, the priorities this weekend are The Last Stop looks really interesting to me. Death's Door, I finally want to engage with that. And Flight Simulator, I'm really keen to really. Microsoft sent me this amazing, you know, flight stick stuff to set up in the living room. That's going to be a project for me this weekend. So. Sorry, Ascent. It's not you. It's just that there's too much other better stuff out there right now.
You're gonna give them. It's not you. It's me, Gary. Right there.
But it's not me either. It's all these other games.
See, I do think that's fair. Exactly what you're saying. We're entering a time of the year where there's so many different options on games. To where if you're hearing something that like people like we're saying, hey, the Ascent, hey, it's okay. We like it, but we don't love it. But then you've literally, I don't think I've stopped talking about Death's Door for like a month, right? I'm constantly praising that game. Of course, you're going to go try that before you try something that's just so to you. Then obviously, like you said, Flight Simulator is now on the console. Halo stuff is out now. There's all these distractions out there to when if you have a game that's just okay, that's not going to be your priority. You're going to gravitate to the things that the community is actually talking about and engaging with.
The other point I want to make, and you touched on it when you first started talking about it, was you said how it's not a great single player experience, and that's fine. Not every game has to be, right? I mean, like it takes two, right? It literally takes two people to play that game. Mario Golf is not, you run out of fun real quick playing that on your own, but when you play with friends, suddenly it's a whole world of fun, right? A lot of these games are just where I think sometimes it's unfair to judge games not being brilliant in single player when the whole point of the game is to be more fun in multiplayer. It sounds like the Ascent is a game that the developers have designed to be and would expect you to get the most fun out of playing with other people. That's great. The problem is it's not always easy to just pick up and have that experience. I can sit down and have a single player experience by myself anytime. But if I want to get the best out of the game and play with other people, I got to start hitting you guys up. You want to play with me? You want to play with me? Then there's the issue that Mike just spoke on earlier about how there's no level catch up or balancing or anything like that. I've not only got to find friends that can play at the same time as me, which is hard enough. We're all busy. We've all got lives. But are at the same level as me. Like it's tough. I feel like there's a bit of a mountain to climb that the Ascent has given it for itself. No pun intended. To get to get you to kind of give this game a fair shot. That's a problem that I've noticed a lot recently. Is like because we're especially for grown-ups like ourselves. Some of us have got kids. We've all got families. We've all got we don't just get to like sit back and play video games all weekend or any evening that we want. And so especially a game that requires multiplayer team cooperation. I love those kind of games, but it's often so much harder to have those experiences just because doing the social coordination of getting everyone to show up at the same time. Then, as you mentioned, there's often still matchmaking issues. Like it's still a real hassle to have like a good time with your friends, oftentimes with a lot of games. So it may well be that the Ascent is a lot of fun once you get like a good party rocking all at the same level and you're all vibing at the same time. It just seems like it's a lot of work to get to that point.
Yeah, and it's wild to think because this was a game, like we all said, we liked it, we didn't love it, but this was a game that was perfect for me and my friends, right? It's a multiplayer game. We were going to play this all weekend until the next game came that we're going to talk about, and that's Halo.
This episode is brought to you by HBO Max. HBO Max is a streaming platform that bundles all of HBO together with even more of your favorite movies, iconic shows like Friends and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, plus new Max originals. I've been loving HBO Max. There's been a ton of great shows on it, including Hacks, which is a comedy that just came out this year, and it is fantastic. You should definitely check it out. But if superheroes are more your thing, guess what? They got Birds of Prey, they got Shazam, they got got Wonder Woman. They got everything you could ever need. They got, of course, Batman, the animated series. And who doesn't want to rewatch that for the 20th time? I know I do. You can check out some of the best superhero content and so much more only on HBO Max. Sign up now with the link in the description to get in on the action. That's hbom.ax/kindafunny to get HBO Max today. Check out the link in the description and start watching. I got Wonder Woman Bloodlines is there, Green Lantern, the animated series, ton of stuff. Very, very cool. Next up, I want to give a shout out to Gabby Insurance. There are hundreds of companies out there claiming to compare auto and home insurance rates, but there's only one who actually does it right. Get a better insurance with Gabby. And I know it because I use this to check out to make sure that everything was working, that I had the best deals possible. Gabby's the one true comparison platform with fast, verifiable quotes, not ballpark guesses. You can use your current policy to find a better policy. It's super easy to use and it gives you peace of mind that you do have the best deal and you're not wasting money. It's super fast to use. You should definitely check it out. Put your policy to the test, just like I did. Get a better insurance with Gabby. It's totally free to check and there's no obligation. Go to gabi.com/kindafunny. That's gabi.com/kindafunny. gabi.com/kindafunny. And finally, shout out to Freshly. Dinner time can be chaotic, but with Freshly, it's easy. Their chefs take care of your meals a few nights a week and take the pressure off of you. My brother, Cool Greg, he's been loving this. Freshly just comes and then he has meals. He doesn't need to think about it. He just has some tasty meals and doesn't need to cook at all. Freshly offers chef-made, nutrient-packed, delicious meals delivered fresh to your door. No cooking required. Ordering is easy. You just go to freshly.com and choose from over 30 delicious, satisfying, better-for-you meals like steak, peppercorn, sausage, baked penne, or their chicken pesto bowl. Freshly can fit your lifestyle with a variety of plans and meals to pick from that work for your dietary needs, preferences, taste, and family size. Right now, Freshly is offering you guys $40 off your first 2 orders when you go to freshly.com/kinda. Stop stressing about dinner. Go to freshly.com/kinda for $40 off your first 2 orders. That's FRESHLY.com/kinda for $40 off your first 2 orders.
Halo Infinite Flight is now here, and unfortunately for the Ascent, it's going to take up all of my weekend time. It's the only thing that me and my friends are talking about. It's the only thing I can think about, because you can finally get a taste of what we're going to play for the next Halo installment. So Halo Infinite, the Flight, not a beta, it's an alpha test. It's called the Flight is what they like to use, is now available. Halo Insiders. Parris, let me tell you something. You know, this team over at 343 has been bringing up how you should sign up to be a Halo Insider. You should always be ready to rock and roll. And I still see people asking, how do I get in? How did I miss it? And I wonder to myself, how did you miss it? Because this team, and I know us here at the Xcast, have yelled for weeks that you should sign up and make sure you're part of this, because here it is. Weekend number 1 is now live, Parris. We can play with up to 3 friends to go 4-on-4 with bots in the new map, Live Fire. And Parris, I'm loving it. I'm loving every moment I'm having here right now with Halo.
So I'm going to take you back in time. We talked about this a little bit right before we start the show. So you were able to get it before I did, and I saw you were streaming it, and I'm sitting there in your channel just watching you play. The FOMO I was having for about a good 90 minutes to 2 hours before I could finally download and play it myself was real. And it kind of goes back to something we've been talking about on this show for months. We were like, they need battle royale. They need to do this. They need to do that. And then obviously once we saw the reveal at E3, and I got to sit down with him at the showcase and talk to Tom French and those guys about it, I started to realize, no, I think they're going to be okay. They're getting back to basics. They're going to focus on what makes Halo multiplayer fun. And now having my hands on it, and dude, we're literally playing just 4v4 Slayer against bots, and not even the hardest bots that you potentially could have in the game, right? And I'm freaking loving it. I felt like I was visiting an old friend, and no disrespect to 343 when I say this, but I felt like this took me back to the Halo 3 days for me, right? Like, this is what this multiplayer feels like for me. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm still getting used to some of the weapons, but, even right before, started this show, I was really starting to feel my groove on, and I'm understanding the map. I know what the choke points are. Like, I know what the call outs are. It's like, it's all starting to come back to me, and I'm having fun. And that's the whole point. And kudos to 343 for getting this to where it is just in this technical preview. We'll see, obviously, once we get the other modes, big team battle, things like that, once we actually do some head-to-head PvP against other people, etc. But you can see what the extra year has done for them. This feels already like a very polished product, and I'm excited to see what it's going to be by the time we get to the end of the year. But I'm absolutely enjoying myself. It feels good to be excited about Halo again, and that's what this did for me. I'm excited for Halo, and let's just be honest. I wasn't so sure that was the case 3 months ago, but I am now.
It's the truth, Parris, and it's wild to think of where we've been, where we are now, right? You see a lot of fatigue with the Call of Duty war zones, with Apex, with Fortnite. Mm-hmm. We've been playing those for almost years now, right? On certain occasions. And I feel like what 343 did with this weekend and just the excitement and the level of, man, we need something new. We want to try what's coming up soon with Battlefield to Call of Duty to Halo. And for them to give us a small taste and for it to feel like this, you're right. It was just plain out fun. That's all it was. It was just flat fun, and it felt good to be in that fast-paced arena. Yep. And you said it so well. A lot of people are saying, man, it feels like Halo 3, and to me, it still feels modern, right? There's that sprint. There's that aim down sight. There's that mantle we talk about, and I just love the speed at which you're moving around the arena, and it still feels like Halo. It is very grounded, right? We've taken away the dash mechanic from Halo 5, so you're not dashing around. You have these cool pieces of equipment that you get to choose when to use it. Mm-hmm. I think that's a nice twist, right? Of like grabbing active camo or grabbing overshield, and now you make the judgment call on when to use it. And it's wild to think back in the day, you just grab it and you have it, right? Now I can grab it. I can wait for that set piece in that moment, and I get to have fun using it. And the power weapons, oh my gosh, that skewer is so cool. Yes, sir. Parris, it's powerful, it's loud, and it's precision to the maximum, right? It feels like you're holding a sniper rifle and you got one shot. You got to be great. And man, when it hits somebody, there's not a cooler feeling than like, I freaking did it, y'all. Mike, and I got that guy, and it just feels so good.
Mike, I tweeted it out earlier. When you hear no scope, oh my God, that just, I just freaking love it. And that's just a little AI voice saying that. But to be able to do that with the power weapons it's just so damn satisfying. It is. And that just goes back to the fun factor. And these are just, we're not even going against other people yet. And I'm already having these kind of moments. So yeah, dude, I'm in. Now, hopefully we'll get because Brian Gerard talked about this during the stream. They might open up some direct PvP towards the end, Sunday or early Monday. I hope we get to that point, obviously. And I know they were also talking about upping the difficulty of the bots throughout the weekend as well. I'm excited for it. I literally want that challenge. I want to be able to do that stuff. And, I'm by no means the greatest Halo player in the world, but I don't care because I'm having fun. That's all that matters.
It's so impressive what they've added to, right? Like we've seen different betas, the alphas, and what you're allowed to test beforehand, but they've added a lot to this, right? Sure, it's just one map against bots, but you can go into the academy, you can go to the weapons firing range, and you can sit there with multiple different weapons on different difficulty scalings and try out the weapons and test yourself and get better and challenge your friends to see who could get the highest score. And I thought that was really cool. And then on top of that, we go into the armory, right? Then you get to customize your Mark 7 armor. You get to see the weapons and put on weapon skins. You get to see the vehicles, and you can spin them around on this cool 360 table and really zoom in on the Hornets or look at the Scorpion tank and see all the detail that the team has put in. And it's like, man, they're really giving you a good taste and making me want more, right? And now you talked about it, right? Hearing that announcer's voice and everybody, you get chills. You get in that comfort zone of like, knowing when you hit that double kill, that triple kill, and you feel it, right? But now you have the AI voice, Parris, and one of my favorite parts is changing the AI every single game and listening to the different AI voices, right? There's a woman voice. There's a young man who sounds almost like Spider-Man's voice, right? There's a British guy, and it's like, this is fun and unique of like every time you're playing, they give you like some pointers, so they hype you up like, hey, you're nasty with that scope. And it's like, oh, thank you. Like, this feels good. And I just love that feeling of, it could have just been, hey, play against the bots, but it was like, no, let's give you some more content. And there's a lot to cipher through. There's a lot to mix and match and play with. And I think it just drives even more excitement and engagement over this weekend of what you can and should do.
Completely agree. And I got to give a shout to the battle pass as well, because I've been tinkering around with that. And I've already gone in and just completely customized my Spartan, and I see as we get into the final game, and you're going to have all these different armor sets and things, and you're going to have things tied to the battle pass. You're going to see the daily and the weekly challenges. You're going to be able to swap out challenges and all this stuff. I can already, I'm already envisioning me just really becoming obsessed with that. And it's a fashion show more than anything. It's like, well, okay, I got to get to that next level of the battle pass because it's going to unlock this. And then I could put this set of armor on, and then I could take a screenshot and I could tweet it so I could show people. It's like, that's all I care about, right? But that's fun to me. And the fact that you're going to have the competitive side of what Halo is going to be, but you're also going to have, like I said, the customization side, like they talked about during the live stream, that we were on, that they're making this about you, the individual. Your Spartan is going to be unique to you. So there's going to be all these different combinations that we're going to see throughout the community, and they're going to be unique to each individual and how you're able to do it. The fact that you can even customize prosthetics, if I'm saying that right, to your Spartan as well. I was messing around with that today too. So, and this is just a tiny vertical slice of what we're going to be able to get to the final game. And like I said, it all just goes back to being excited about Halo again. All this little quality of life stuff just has me excited about Halo, and it's a great feeling.
Oh, so exciting. And, a lot of my friends know that over the course of the past 6 months, I've been transitioning to mouse and keyboard play, and I got to give a big shout out to this team. The mouse and keyboard play feels fine-tuned. Yeah. It feels so much better. Yes, it's on Master Chief Collection, but this feels better than what it was on Master Chief Collection.
That goes to, they built it from the ground
like we said, it goes for the team of this has been a main priority for them, right? And Tim tweeted out the picture on his ultra wide screen earlier this morning of what that looked like, right? And it's so impressive to see the strides that they're making. And another big shout I want to give is similar to Apex Legends. When you're playing mid game, if you don't want to be on mouse and keyboard anymore, you can grab your controller and just go, right? And that's a big downfall of Warzone whenever I play that is you can't do that until the end of the game. In between matches, you can switch and swap. I love that I'm in the middle of a Halo match, and if I'm not feeling the controller anymore, I can just grab the mouse and keyboard setup and go. And I thought that was really impressive of how intuitive and cool just to be able to flip it on the moment's notice and be able to jump in and play. And yeah, Barrett has brought up what it looks like on Tim's super ultra wide monitor, and look at how nice that is, right? And that's another one. The team has that in mind. They've done plenty of Inside Infinites where you can check it out and you can learn about what this team is doing on the PC side to make sure that those PC players get the best possible product. And it's exciting to see. And you talked about FOMO. You see the excitement on the internet right now. It's it's all Halo. And I think this is what the team needed after the year delay, after now a year plus of COVID. I think everybody needs that shot in the arm of hey, you did a terrific job. You guys absolutely crushed it, and we're freaking loving it, right? And people are going to talk about it. It's the technical side, so there are some hiccups. They're going to bring their concerns to the table, and this team has time now, right? This is a 2-month-old build. This isn't today's build. They have time to build and go off of this, and it's exciting, right, Parris? This has been great to see, great to play, and another big shout I want to give is, we always remember red versus blue, and that's how it's always been. But this new, unique highlighters over your colors is really, really cool. And it does stand out, right? It doesn't feel like, I can't see him or I don't know what team it is. It is clearly visible with that highlighted color around you of he's either on my team or he's against my team. And I love that you can change it up, right? Maybe I want to go green versus purple. Maybe I want to be blue versus yellow. I don't know. But I love the option of, you can change that whenever you want. And I think that's really cool as well.
Completely agree. And excuse me, a couple things I wanted to mention before I forget. So, and I'm forgetting the exact term, but the fact that you can change the way that you're holding your weapon so that, you can.
Well,
we just lost Parris.
We'll never know what you can do.
We have lost Parris. We'll wait for a moment to bring him back. I'm sure he'll be jumping back in no time.
Wait, what happened?
You're back now.
I'm back. What happened? That was weird. All of a sudden, it was it just said bloop bloop. That was crazy. Wait, what was the last thing you heard before I jumped out?
Setting up your weapons.
Oh, yeah.
Where you want to put them.
Just adjusting the weapons in your field of view, with the UI and everything. Again, just a quality of life thing that you're able to do. Being able to play on the PC and obviously change the field of view up to 120 was great. But the fact that you can even hop on console and you can bring mouse and keyboard over there as well was something they talked about during the live stream, which is great. And just for me playing here the past couple of days, I've hopped back and forth between playing on the PC and playing on the Series X. Series X, I mean, it was smooth as silk. Obviously a little technical getting into a matches aside, but actually in the game playing, fantastic on the console and fantastic on the PC. So again, I think them having an extra year to work on this, you're seeing the optimizations that are happening. And I think we're going to get a pretty polished experience once we get to it later this holiday.
Yeah, it's really exciting, Parris. And yeah, we've talked about battle royales and what's the thermometer read on, the global public, and will this get excited, right? And I really look forward to the read of, if your son walks in the room and sees you playing this on the couch, does he say, "Yo, scoot over, Dad, hand me the controller"?
Oh,
because that's what I want to know.
I got a story. I got a story on that one, and I had to give him a bunch of shit about this too. So, my son is, I don't care about it. We talked about this before. I'm not worried about us. I'm worried about, like the younger generation. Are they going to be excited about Halo? So, I'm on here having a good old time last night playing on PC, right? Pops his head in here and goes, "Is that Halo?" And I was like, "Yes, it is." He goes, "Can I play?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. You said you're not interested in this. Get out of here," right? So what does he say to me this morning? Did you download it on the Xbox? I was like, "Yeah." He's like, so can I play it too? I'm like, "Yeah, you can play it." But I thought you weren't interested in this. Why do you want to play all of a sudden? "Yeah, I saw you playing it. It looked kind of cool. I want to check it out." But then, because he's a teenager, so he has to be defiant. "But I'm not interested in the campaign, just the multiplayer. I don't care about the campaign." I was like, "Okay, whatever." But that's a good sign, though. And that was just a quick little test of someone who was just sure they didn't care about Halo and literally just watched over my shoulder for a little bit and decided that they at least want to check it out. So it's good.
I love that read. And I think, how it feels, how it looks, it is so Halo, and it feels so good. I think it's going to make a big splash, right? Team Arena could be something hot, and it's going to come at the perfect time, right? And it's going to be battling two juggernauts, right? Let's not get it incorrect here. Of Battlefield and Call of Duty will be here, and it's going to be a wild fall into holiday season battling for your attention. And it's got the free to play, like I know you're going to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big deal, but it's going to be fun to see where we shake out a couple months after release of all three of these games, of who is the top dog, who's got the attention, who's getting, everybody's attention and wallets going out. It's going to be wild to see.
Oh, absolutely is. And I do think, the free to play is an advantage that they're going to have. If this thing comes out the gate, very polished, optimized, great word of mouth from the community, and it doesn't cost you a red nickel to pick it up and at least play it, that's an advantage over having to drop $70 on Battlefield or Call of Duty. Just is. So it'll be interesting to see this holiday how all that shakes out. But I mean, just after a couple of days, and obviously this is a tiny sample size, we'll have to see over the next few months, and obviously leading into the full launch, how this plays out. But I have a good feeling. I do. I have a, how good a feeling I have? I have a death's door kind of good feeling.
Ooh,
that's how good of a feeling I have.
love that. I like that little segue into what we're going to talk about next for sure. But I want to bring in a viewer question right now from a good friend, BJ Bernardo, who loves the Xcast. He wrote, "Hi, y'all. Does the flight make you more or less worried for the release of Halo Infinite and multiplayer this year? I noticed a lot of new stuff, portable shield, power weapons, etc. How do you guys feel about it? And finally, is Halo multiplayer on its way to reach the top or near the top of multiplayer games?" So, little three-part question there for you and I, Parris, and we'll get Gary involved here in just a little bit. But Parris, let's start off with number one, the big one. Does the flight make you more or less worried for the release of Halo Infinite and multiplayer this year? And that was something that we talked about on the stream earlier. Do we still feel good about planting the flag sometime this holiday season, or do you see this being pushed at all?
I feel less worried that this gets pushed. I like I literally just said, I have a pretty good feeling about this. I think it makes it this year. I don't see this getting delayed into 2022 unless something catastrophic obviously happens. But like I was saying before, like you mentioned, Mike, what we're playing is a 2-month-old build as it is. So it's probably already been optimized even more than what we're playing. They're clearly going to take the feedback that they're getting from these technical previews, and then apply that to, I think, yeah, we're going to get a polished product. Look, knock on wood, I would imagine probably around the middle of November.
Oh man, I wonder what that is. Yes, this is right, Parris. I love that. And yeah, I agree, right? Playing this and seeing this and experiencing this, it gives me a lot of confidence, right? I think it's easy to be like, oh, we're on shaky ground after what happened last year throughout the year to now, right? If you have the question marks of, well, where do we stand? And I think once you go hands-on with it and understand and listen to how transparent and how outgoing this team was during their live stream, I think you have a really good feeling of this is for real. We're about to see this year. And, of course, we don't want delays. If it is, we totally understand and it's all fine. But I think you can really definitely get a good feeling that this is going to be coming out your way later this year. Want to bring up the next one. I noticed a lot of new stuff, portable shield, new power weapons, etc. Parris, what were some of your favorite moments? We brought up the skewer. We talked about, the different equipment being used when you want. Were there anything else that stood out to you?
And I'm going to screw the name up, but the other power weapon, the heat...
I think it's the heat wave is what I want to call it.
Is it the heat wave?
Yeah, I'm
digging that. Like the first time I used it, I really didn't get the correct way to do it. But then a couple matches later, I was like, oh, okay, I get this now. And I was taking people down with it. Yeah, I love that skewer. Again, it goes to no scoping that thing and getting someone awesome. Sniper rifle's a sniper rifle. So, we're pretty used to that one. But I mean, just overall with the weapons, everything felt pretty good. I mean, the BR is just old reliable as always. So that felt good to use as well. But yeah, pretty good.
I love that you brought up the heat wave because that is such a cool and new unique weapon, right? Where it shoots out either as a horizontal line and it'll bounce off walls or go through your enemy. Or if you switch, you can go to the opposite shooting and you can go vertical, which is really fun to be looking at a group of, AI bots and being able to shoot multiple at once. Or, okay, if I'm really precise here, I could go one just up and down the body and go wild with it. So yeah, the heat wave is really cool. I want to give a big shout out to the Bulldog shotgun. If you get your hands on that, you can feel the power of this thing, right? And that's one of those of like, man, that's really cool. And I love the Bulldog shotgun. And I also want to give a shout out to the portable shield, right? We know the bubble shield so well. And this is a little bit different of only, watching the front of it. But it's interesting. Every time you pick it up, you get two pairs and it's on like a quick cooldown where it's like, 3 or 5 seconds, but then you can put out the second one. And so you can pretty much just encapsulate yourself in the two shields if you wanted to. I thought that was funny.
I saw you do that on the stream. I thought that was funny. Speaking of that, and I know we're talking past what we're playing this weekend, I immediately think about that shield and how that'll be used strategically once we're actually going against other people. You understand certain maps and choke points where you can strategically place that. Someone's coming, you drop that in there. You almost have that choke point. They can't hit you, but you can hit them. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of different ways to use that, and I'm actually very curious to get that grapple hook when that comes out and how that's going to play as one of the equipments, because that's going to make you a lot more vertical, on the map, depending on the map, obviously, and how that'll play into some of the PvP encounters.
Yeah, that's one you could only fantasize about, right? When you're actually playing this, the first words out of my friends were like, man, what about that grapple hook? And it's like, you're sliding, you're running, you're moving through certain areas like Parris talked about, like start to learn the choke points, right? And now once we start to introduce the grapple hook, now you start to look up of like, where would I grab and how far is this thing going to swing me and take me? Or what's that going to look like? And man, oh man, it is exciting. Want to give a big shout out once again to the Academy firing range, right? You can try a lot of weapons in there, and there's the Ravager in there. I love the VK-78 Commando, which is like that single shot BR. And that thing is super fun and super precise. And there's a lot to, pack out and have some fun with. And I'm loving what we're doing, and I can't wait for the rest of the weekend. So finally, BJ wants to know, is Halo multiplayer on its way to reach the top or near the top of multiplayer games?
I think it has a shot. I mean, we'll have to see the more modes, right? I mean, we're obviously looking at such a tiny sample size. I mean, it would be easy to say it because we're having fun today, but maybe we get to big team battle and it's not that fun. Maybe some of the other modes just aren't that good. So we'll have to see, obviously, as we get closer to launch and they start unlocking more of those in the previews.
Well said, Parris. And I'll piggyback off of that in agreement, but I will say I think it's been a long time since Halo 5. It's also been a long time where you can see a lot of big time Twitch streamers, YouTubers, and the community at large misses Halo. They love Halo. They remember Halo so well. And I think you see the excitement now. And I think when we get to launch day, there will be so much excitement around Chief's story, the multiplayer, that this is going to be the hot topic of that holiday season and probably onward. And for what they've created with this small test sample that we're playing right now, it is a ton of fun. And I can't wait to see what Oddball will be like. I can't wait to see what Capture the Flag will be like. One Bomb, right? What other maps will they introduce? Will they bring out some classic maps and wow us with that revitalization of something that we know and love? What new maps will we see? So, BJ, it's a great weekend, and I hope you're playing. I hope all of our best friends are around the world are playing it, because this is really exciting, and it's a great time. And so I hope that you all are enjoying it, and I cross my fingers that we do get to Sunday night, and somehow we're playing some 4v4 Slayer against everybody, because that would be wild right now.
Yeah.
Gary Whitta, me and Parris have done a lot of talking, a lot of hype, a lot of excitement. I mean, it's wild right now in my Spartan visor. But Gary, I gotta look over at you and extend a hand and be like, what's your vibe, Gary? I mean, are you gonna download this Microsoft Flight right now and jump in and play with us? Where are you at on the Halo side?
First of all, it's actually a nice change of pace for me. You know, I'm so often kind of flapping my gums on this podcast at length. It's actually nice for me to sit back and listen for a while. And I'm definitely feeding off your excitement and your energy. I think I was genuinely so happy for you when I saw this drop and you were tweeting about, oh my God, Halo is here. I get to go play Halo. I was actually lurking in your stream was it last night or the night before? I don't remember exactly. You were playing some of the test flight on stream. I saw that it brought in a real big audience for you. Obviously, there's a lot of curiosity about it. I was just so happy for you, that because I know how much you love Halo. To see you now kind of taking that first step into the next generation of Halo, I was just genuinely thrilled for you to be enjoying it as much as you so clearly were. I'm trying. The funny thing is, I'm not in the test lot, and I'm trying to remember if that's because I didn't apply or because I applied and didn't get in. I'm going to choose to believe it's because I didn't apply. The alternative is unthinkable. But the other reason is because I generally don't do alphas and betas and things like that. The only one I can think of in recent memory doing was back with the Back for Blood alpha. Remember that when they did that a few months back? Because I was just really, really curious to see that one in particular. But generally, I like to wait until the thing is fully baked and let's see it when it comes out. Then dabble with, because I kind of feel like if you do all the alphas and betas, by the time the game actually drops, you kind of feel like, oh, I saw a bunch of this stuff already. I kind of want it come to me. But when I first experience it, I want to experience it like all at once in a brand new package, fully finished. Obviously, it's never fully finished. Most games don't ship fully finished, even on day one these days. But I'm perfectly happy to wait. But and in terms of what I saw from watching you play the test flight, and the last several minutes of listening to you and Parris talk about it, it sounds like to me, and I'm probably of the three of us, well, not probably, definitely of the three of us, by far the least of a Halo expert, certainly on the multiplayer side. I'm very familiar with the campaign stories. I played a bunch of the campaign stories. I generally don't mess with Halo multiplayer. Historically, I haven't, just because, not because it's not my kind of game. I think it's really fun. I'm so behind the curve in terms of the skill level. I don't need to be slapped around by a bunch of 15-year-olds. I got enough of that in high school. I don't need to do that again, as a 49-year-old man. So, I know that when the multiplayer game comes out, I'm gonna start falling behind the curve real fast. And it's like, you know what, my kill death is gonna be so bad. It's like, maybe we'll see. Maybe if they have some like baby mode servers that I can go on, maybe I can find some people. I really hope that they do. That for me is the most important thing in any one of these games. Will they match me with players of my very low skill level, so I can at least feel like I'm up against people at my level. But just watching the footage and listening to you talk about it, the one thought that strikes me is it really kind of seems like this is just gonna, and this is not a criticism, this is a compliment, that this is gonna be, for fans of multiplayer Halo over the years, just a big serving of gourmet comfort food, right? Like the best spaghetti and meatballs that you ever had, right? And it looks very familiar. It's it's all the greatest hits. I think the Halo universe and the Halo kind of multiplayer ecosystem has been through so many iterations now, and is so mature. They've learned so many lessons. Okay, the player base. We're looking at the feedback. They like this. They don't like that. This worked. This didn't. And they're taking all of that institutional knowledge, even from the Bungie days, and refining it now to what hopefully is going to be not just the best looking because it's next gen Halo experience, but also the most refined, the product of everything they've learned over so many years now. What is it, 4 generations of console hardware and so many games now that they've really kind of got this tweaked to like as close to a razor's edge as they're going to get it in the modern era. And it's funny because we've talked, you mentioned it again earlier, anytime we've talked about Halo multiplayer in the past, we almost always bring up and go on about at length Battle Royale. Do they need to do Battle Royale? That's the biggest trend in multiplayer shooters right now. Do they need to be a part of that trend? Or if they don't, is it going to feel like they're being left behind? I'm actually starting to change my opinion on it a little bit. Looking at how well the spaghetti and meatballs seems to be, cooking up, I'm wondering if maybe they don't need to jump on every bandwagon, chase every trend that comes along. Just let Halo do its own thing. I still think I'm starting to feel very confident that you're not going to see a Battle Royale mode at launch or even like in a launch window. I think like maybe next year, 6 months down the road or whatever, maybe they'll do like a big Battle Royale update as like an add-on, like a big DLC thing down the road. But I kind of feel like I used to think, and you can go back and look at the old Xcast and I'd say, oh, they got to have Battle Royale. I'm kind of turning around on that, and kind of maybe they don't. What they are now that we've seen the test flight, it looks just really good on its own merits. Halo's, it's going to do. We know how to do Halo multiplayer. We're going to do it better than we've ever done it. We're going to bring you all your greatest hits. We're going to apply everything we've learned, and it's just going to be really, really great. It's not going to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is pretty great at this point. Let's just do a really, really good version of it. And I think maybe that's just all. Maybe that's all they need to do.
Parris, I'll cut you off really quick. It's funny you bring that up, Gary, because I think the pressure of that Battle Royale might be taken back a gear now with Battlefield announcing that there is no Battle Royale at this time for launch. I think that's a big moment. It's like, I think as well, when you look around, if all 3 of them did Battle Royales or 2 out of the 3 of them, you might feel that pressure. But I think now with what Battlefield announced with their all-out warfare, with their soon-to-be announced Hazard Zone, that's not a Battle Royale in any way. It sounds like, to just like their Forge, aka Battlefield Portal. I think for this team over here, they're probably taking a nice deep breath and a sigh of relief of like, okay, cool. There's a little less pressure for a Battle Royale talk like we brought up for the past 8 months because it looks like the other people aren't doing it. So we'll see, what that means. But it is interesting because Team Arena is feeling really good, Gary. And I think positive for you, you bring up your skills and you bring up multiplayer, the bots. Right? How cool is it that this will be the first ever Halo with bots and an opportunity for you to play with your friends, even in Battlefield too, right? You have that opportunity now to still be able to play the game, but against bots that aren't cracked out of their mind, 15-year-olds, pro player esports. Like now you get an opportunity to play and adjust that. And maybe you really find some love with that.
And I really appreciate that. I think it's something that every shooter that wants to be accessible to players of lower skill levels, or at least players who are coming in at a lower skill level and want to spend a little bit of time with the training wheels on and want to be able to, going to get on ramped into the game. Like, just give me a minute here to kind of learn the controls and get familiar. If you're going to throw me into a meat grinder, into a wood chipper against elite level players every time I jump in, there's no opportunity for me to learn and get better and to get, kind of get my feet under myself. And it's just going to be frustrating. And I have played shooters like that before where I try to come into a very mature shooter. The player base is like way ahead of me because I'm coming in late. And by the way, that's not like I'm coming in like years later. That's like on week 2. Players are already like, got hundreds of hours under their belt and I'm way behind the curve. And I play for a bit. You know what? I'm never going to be able to like catch up with these guys. And I put the controller down and go find something else. The nice thing about bots, of course, is you can control them, right? That's a controlled environment. You can program them to, to be any skill level you want, do it easy bots, hard bots or whatever. And there is an opportunity to at least develop, some basic skill before you go into the real wood chipper against, serious players. So that's a good sign for me. I am gonna give it a good try. If you guys are willing to carry me for a bit when this comes out at the end of the year 1.0, I'm all in. It does look like a ton of fun. In terms of that as well, because I was generally surprised by one of the questions that you asked that you answered earlier about does this make you more or less confident about the game coming out at the end of this year? I didn't even realize that was even an issue. I was kind of assumed that this holiday season was a lock, just because, again, the alternative is unthinkable, right? It was embarrassing enough last year that they couldn't ship the game. They shipped a box last year, a Series X box at the holidays with Master Chief. It was like front and center on the back of the box. but no Master Chief game to play, right? And we all remember, like, that was very embarrassing for Microsoft at the time, and they would have done anything to avoid that. Again, that's all in the past now. I think we all now see the wisdom of delaying it. It makes a lot of sense to give it the time in the oven to cook properly. We've seen the folly, Cyberpunk and many others are releasing games too early. I think Microsoft, they obviously took a hit doing it, but I think it made a lot of sense for them to keep it in the oven as long as it took to get ready. You cannot ship a substandard Halo game without that being a really, really big problem. They want to get this right, but now this year, again, 20th anniversary of Xbox, 20th anniversary of Halo. If were it to get, and I think it's unthinkable, I don't think it'll happen, but let's just kind of play, Fantasyland for a second. Were it to get pushed again, I can't even imagine. That would be seismic. Like, Satya Nadella would have to come downstairs and really start slapping some people around and handing out some pink slips. Like, that's unacceptable, completely unacceptable, right? I mean, it cannot be allowed to happen. I've got to believe that they are fully confident that this is going to be a big holiday release.
Now, I will say, when I was up in Seattle to film all the stuff for E3, I may or may not have had a drink or two with someone from 343, and they explained to me how COVID has affected them as far as just development and not being able to do things in person in the studio and all that. I could understand if it did get delayed, just from what this person explained to me, because again, it's not easy, man, especially when it comes to play testing and doing things like that. Trying to do in a remote environment clearly isn't ideal. So that I can understand, but I do get what you mean, Gary, because yeah, if Halo were to slip into 2022, just no matter what the excuse would be, and I think the public perception of it would be bad. It just
COVID is definitely the one big thing that hangs over it all. We of course all understand how much that has affected, especially big teams that are used to working, in these big environments. To split them all up, and obviously they've had to reinvent their workflow and their productivity, and we've seen a lot of slowdown because of that. So I think that that would definitely take some of the edge. It's the best. If there's one good excuse to get, it's not even an excuse, it's a legitimate reason. But like, if you see but COVID, then most people have to say, okay, fair enough, right? To some extent,
right.
You'd still be severely disappointed. The other thing that I would point to. And again, I still don't think this will happen. I think it's unthinkable. Halo will come out this year. Clip that and come back and throw it in my face if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But were it not to, the other thing about this is I've noticed there has been, and I really, really welcome this, there has been a really, really big shift, and you guys may have noticed this too, in terms of kind of the public perception, the way that the gamer community now reacts when games announce they're going to delay. It used to be, fuck you, wait, where's my game? How dare you delay it? What else am I going to do? You guys said this would be out on this time. Now when games get delayed, you see, for example, you see like a delay thing on they do a tweet. Go check the replies. What you're seeing now is a big shift in tone towards a lot of people saying, take all the time you need, right? We'll be here when it's ready. And I think because, we're so much better educated now about issues of crunch, and especially in the age of COVID, gamers, thank God, I think are becoming much more mature and a lot more grown up about accepting, sometimes, while game delays are always a bummer, it's generally for the best when you make a decision unavoidably to delay a game. So I'm just really, really glad, just as a general point, that we're growing up a little bit in terms of how we react to the news that a big game's going to be delayed.
I agree. I mean, I will go back and say, we're obviously seeing now with this technical preview, and I've talked about how polished it feels. I then immediately think, imagine if they would have said, screw it, and put this game out last year. It quite honestly was probably the smartest decision that they probably made in the history of Xbox, because I still say, if Halo Infinite doesn't, because we talked about the whole thing, it can't just be okay, it has to be great. But the way that we talked about the Ascent earlier, right? We like it, it's like, it's kind of, hey, it's okay, but I still say you can't say that about Halo Infinite. It can't be, it's okay, but. That would have been what we were saying if this came out a year ago.
Yeah, and Parris, it's not like we have to theorize about what it looks like when a hugely anticipated AAA game gets brought out of the oven too early to hit an arbitrary release date. Cyberpunk is right there.
Yes,
we all
100%.
saw the horror show, and I think because we saw that happen, we are now that much more sanguine about understanding that it's always better to wait to get a good game than to get a botched game early.
Completely agree. So. again, I think it was a smart move to delay it. I think we're starting to see the fruits of that labor. Here with this small, tiny slice that we have. I'm excited to see more of this. Obviously, we'll probably actually I'll throw this to you, Gary, and you too, Mike. I personally don't need to see anything else for the campaign. Me personally, I don't want to know. I would rather pick up the sticks and see what it is when I get it. I don't need them to sell me on the campaign anymore because I genuinely want to be surprised by that story. So maybe they'll show a screenshot here or sizzle trailer or something, I'm sure, for the launch. But as far as whatever Halo Infinite the story is going to be with the campaign, I don't need to know.
I'm the same. I've been like this with movies for a while, and I've changed on my attitude on this as well. It used to be when I had an anticipated movie, I would watch every trailer and every piece of content I could consume, every little behind the scene. Here's a clip, here's the clip. And it kind of feels like by the time you go see the movie, you're basically seeing all the stuff that you already saw just kind of stitched together. And it doesn't, a lot of the newness has been taken away. Now with movie releases, and this is equally true with games, is I'll watch like the first little teaser reveal that doesn't give away too much. It's exciting. I'll get like a little bit of excitement, but then I'll tune out. It's like, now show me the game when it's ready. And then for that same reason I touched on earlier, why I don't always want to do the betas, because I want it to feel fresh when I play it. Because I feel like if you participate in all the betas and all the alphas and all the test flights and you like fully get invested, of course, if that's what you want to do, good luck to you, more power to you. But for me personally, I feel like if I were to do that, by the time the game actually comes out, it just makes it feel a bit more anticlimactic because I've just played so much of it already.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I don't need any more, but I will say this. I believe there will be another 90-second to 2 minutes hype up video with centered around the campaign. And I want that, right? I can say I don't need it anymore because I'm a diehard Halo fan and we've been keeping up with it every single week, every month. But man, oh man, I can't wait to see the Banished again. I can't wait to see Chief. And I'm thinking it's a Monday Night Football game early in fall. And here it comes, right? The music hits. There's Chief. There's the Banished Warlord, and we're going to just get a little bit more teaser for that campaign just to get the ramp up and the hype up one more time before launch. But yeah, I mean, multiplayer beta I'm fine with, but the campaign, I don't need any more. You already know I'm in it. I'm ready to rock and roll. But for this promo, I think we'll see a little bit more of what to expect coming up. But man, Halo's on the mind. Halo is happening. They just announced the bots have been upgraded, a brand new map. So get ready. If you're in the flight, go have fun. Me and Parris, we're playing all weekend. Come play with us. Let's have some fun. Let's keep it moving, guys, because there's 2 more games that were released, between both of these episodes. And we got to stop and talk about Death's Door, Parris. You, me, and Bear, we got to talk about how good Death's Door really is. I mean, you and I got to sit down with the Acid Nerve team, but Parris, I didn't expect it to be this great. I knew it was going to be good. But like, this is something where I'm having too much fun in, and I'm really, really enjoying it.
I'm going to say something that, I can already see the comments that I'm not going to read when I say this. But I'm so happy that we got Acid Nerve to come on first and foremost to be able to talk about this game. We've already said I had a good feeling about it. I didn't know I was going to love it this much, though. And when I say I love it this much, call me crazy. This is the best game I've played this year.
Woo-wee!
It is.
In a year of Hitman? Yeah. In a year of Ratchet and Clank? Man, Parris, that's a big claim. I like it.
It's so funny.
In a year of Power Wash Simulator?
Okay, Gary.
High praise indeed.
And that, and that is no disrespect to any of the other great games that we've already played this year. Again, Ratchet obviously is one that I really love. I love Returnal, things like that. But dude, this is the best game that I played this year because it captures for me that nostalgia of the old Zelda games, but it modernizes it, the music, the art style, the boss battles that you have in here. And there's still things for me to go do, even though I'm done with it to get the quote unquote true ending and 100% it and all that. I kind of want to start from scratch and do it all over again too. That's how much I love this game. I feel like there's still encounters and things that I want to revisit that I've already done because I love them that much. Like just the conversations that you have with the witch, as you progress through that, and she calls you a little shit at one point.
Yes,
I freaking love it. I freaking, again, I don't want to spoil too much review that I haven't played, but just little things like that. I just love. And the combat, I know some people have complained about it, like, oh, the combat should have been better. But this takes me back to that Link to the Past type combat. And I love that. I love, again, the boss battles to where you got to quote unquote figure out the pattern. And then once you figure it out, you have that aha moment. You're able to get past it. I love it. And like I said, the music is phenomenal in this game. I guarantee you put some headphones on and you just immerse yourself into the world and you're just going to love it. So yes, as we sit here today of this recording, and I probably will change my mind about a dozen times before we get to December with the Keeleys. Right now, this is my favorite game of the year. Absolutely.
I mean, it does sound like it's going to be a serious part of the game of the year conversation.
Oh, I think so. It absolutely.
Yeah, it will. And of course, we got to invite in our brand new Xbox producer. He's got the Xbox, but he's been playing a lot of Death's Door. Barrett, what are your thoughts so far after a week plus of Death's Door for yourself?
I fully agree with Parris. I'm still kind of going back and forth between Death's Door and Returnal for me so far for my personal game of the year. But yeah, this is definitely one of the best games I've touched this year. I rolled credits on it sometime last week. And then like kind of walked away from it and then try to do some post game stuff. And I'm going to dive deeper into that. Andy Cortez, shout out to him. If he wasn't traveling right now, I'm sure it would be great to have him on to talk about this game just because of how much he's into it as well. And like all the secrets he has found that he's kind of told me about. I think it's like a kind of a perfect blend of old school Link to the Past style Zelda gameplay with a little more challenge. People have been asking like, oh, like how much of it is like kind of Dark Souls and stuff. And there's definitely like Dark Souls like overall game design, but like I've never felt it as like difficult a learning curve as I find some of the Dark Souls games. I personally like really enjoy the combat, like Parris was saying. Like I love finding the rhythm and the language of new enemies that get thrown at you. And just like kind of if I'm getting messed up by a group of enemies and I have to keep doing that fight over and over again, I'm not getting upset. I'm like I feel like I'm learning every single time, and it's super fun. And like me personally, there was only like a handful of fights that like really messed me up and took a little bit to really learn and get the groove of. But man, this game's special. And something like people are talking about like the design, the music. I personally also really just want to shout out the story of the game, which also really surprised me. Of just like kind of I would say like the commentary it makes on systemic things, I think really surprised me. And again, I don't want to spoil too much, but the story definitely took a turn for something I was not expecting. Right. And I think it does a very good job of like introducing the story and the kind of ideas that they want to discuss in the story really well, with like kind of like this cutesy but also like a dark story of like this adorable crow and fighting all these like weird looking creatures and stuff like that. I was joking on one of my streams, Mike, where it was like, man, you get all the reactionary gamers out there who get upset of like, oh, I don't want like a woman as my main character, get your politics out of my games. And I just find it hilarious. I was like streaming through this game and I was like, how is nobody who complains about that shit complained about the politics in this game? Which like really I really loved the commentary on a lot of systemic things that I don't know. I just thought it was fascinating that we got none of those same reactionaries complaining about the story of this game. Anyways, I think it's a very special game. I want to go back to it. I did learn there's a lot to do to get a certain ending. So I'm debating on whether or not I want to see that all the way through. I think when I rolled credits, I was 10 hours in, and I was at like 85%. So, maybe it's just like an hour or two of just kind of traveling around and grinding a little bit for some things. But besides that, like I adored my entire journey with the kind of the base story and the base ending and all that stuff.
Can I just say the other thing that really put a smile on my face this week, other than seeing Snowbike Mike in the Halo test flight, was seeing Barrett pick up a Series S. I genuinely was so happy for him. You got one, dude. It's like you're in the Xbox ecosystem now, and just generally, I do actually want to ask Barrett about his impressions of the Series S since he picked one up. But like just in general, I think it's another opportunity to talk about. Like we don't talk enough about what an amazing little box the Series S is for $299. It's like the size of like a little portable radio. This thing is crazy when you see how small it is. I was watching the Digital Foundry video earlier this week, comparing Flight Simulator on the X and the S. Flight Simulator is an absolute beast of a game, and it actually runs really well on the S. What an amazing little piece of hardware. Barry, I just want to say I'm really glad that you got one.
Yeah, shout out to Xbox for sending me a Series S, and I also, with it the same day, I also got my watermelon-inspired custom controller, which I've been gaming a lot on for the last week. It's been dope, and yeah, like getting back into the ecosystem I have not been a part of since the 360, since I sold that off back in like 2014 or 2015. It's been really fun, and just going back and playing Skate 3 and entertaining the idea of going back to my Halo replay of playing through the entire series, and downloading the Metal Gear games to prepare for the future of this Metal Gear Solid series playthrough that Mike and I are doing. It's been great, and then downloading Microsoft Flight Simulator was and checking that out just on the S was really impressive. And so yeah, I wanna mess around with it more. Just kind of like the way my desk is set up. Like I want it to be like my desk console. But the way it's set up right now, there's not like an easy way to get it plugged into my 1440p monitor, so I gotta like kind of rework some things there. But besides, like even just like having it on my LG like OLED and stuff like that, it's a really fun console to just have around, and I love how tiny it is. When my wife came home, she was out of town for like a week and a half, and she had known that I'd gotten the Series S, and she was hanging out in our bedroom and was like, "Oh, did you see the Series S?" She was like, "Honestly, no, I did not even notice it. Like, it's just, I love just how tiny it is and how well it like fits into our setup." Because that was the main thing, Mikey. Like, with another console, with an Xbox console, I was like, I don't know if I have the space for something like that, man. And the Series S is a perfect fit for that.
I love that, Barrett. And I'm going to end the show with that positivity and that fun and having you part of the ecosystem. And it's just so great to have Gary and Parris back, right? I love that we've brought on some incredible guests, and we've had some really awesome episodes. And guess what? It's only going to get better, right? Because Parris, Gary, we got to talk to that 343 team. We got to talk, and we got to ask them all about Halo, because I need to talk to them and share the hype and excitement.
Speaking of that, before you end the show, Mike, there is a minor piece of, or maybe a major piece of breaking news that has been made aware to me just while we were talking about Halo. I've got my Twitter feed open over here. Mr. Tim Geddes.
Yeah, Barrett, will you please bring that up for all the video
I don't know if you've seen it, but we were talking earlier about Tim's amazing ultra-wide setup and mouse and keyboard. And Mike, I thought what you were saying earlier about how you can seamlessly go back and forth between mouse and keyboard and controller is really interesting. Tim just posted a 4-second video on Twitter, which absolutely blew my mind. He has taken it to the next level. He's got a hybrid method going on here where he's got a controller in one hand and he's got his thumb on the left stick for movement, right?
Oh,
but he's aiming with the mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, try that.
That is some next level shit.
Yeah,
pretty wild, right there.
So basically, instead of like a keyboard, typically that left hand would be on the WASD keys, right? He's got it on the thumbstick. It looks kind of awkward, but I know maybe that's like some next level shit.
That's
I don't
like
know.
how he wants to play games on PC, and he's been asking for it.
That's how he wants it.
I think that might be a slice of genius right there.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I mean, I know that is some awesome stuff, but looking at that on that big ultra wide, woo, baby, that is really nice.
It's hot.
But with that, we'll end the show. Parris, what awesome stuff are you getting into this weekend? Where can people find you? And gosh darn it, it's great to have you back, big dog.
Thank you. Love to be here. I'm so happy to be here with Gary again. Halo, dude. That's it.
Halo, dude.
What else should I be saying? No, but seriously, yeah, I'll be playing the Halo Infinite preview. And obviously, we got to link up this weekend and play, maybe do some stuff on stream too. Where you can find me, obviously, here on Kind of Funny on the Xcast. You can find me on Gamertag Radio. On my YouTube channel, which is my name, Parris, and on social media at Vicious696.
Love that, Parris. Gary Whitta, you're back. We've missed you. We're happy to have you. Where can everybody find you? And what cool stuff are you doing this weekend?
Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. It's just Gary Whitta, GaryWhitta. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming this week, but I am definitely going to be playing. Death's Door is number one. I'm sick of just hearing about it. I got to get into the conversation. I really want to play. I'm also very interested in Last Stop, which also dropped on Game Pass just this past week. And again, I may as well show it to you. It's right here.
You're going to bust out the big box.
It's incredible. Look at this thing. It's the throttle, it's the stick, it's the HOTAS, it's the pedals, it's everything. A little project for me this weekend is going to be trying to figure out how to hook this up in the living room so I can get it, get it on the coffee table with the pedals, get it all hooked up to the big, OLED 65-inch screen. My kid's really excited about playing with the stick and the throttle and everything. That's another project for this weekend. So yeah, a lot of Xbox stuff to catch up on over the next couple of days.
You're the best, Gary. I can't wait to see you take flight with all of that. And we'll talk about some more Microsoft Flight Simulator next week. Hopefully, Gary will take us on a trip and tell us all about his flight endeavors. But with that, that has been another episode of the Kind of Funny Xcast. It's been all about Halo, all about games, and what more could you ask for? It's been awesome to share the enthusiasm and hype and excitement about the recent games. The Ascent, Death's Door, Microsoft Flight Simulator. You got Halo Flight right now. You're looking at Hades coming up very, very soon. 12 minutes, Psychonauts 2. There's so much to look forward to, and hopefully you're excited to play a bunch of games. And with that, we'll end this show, so please take care of one another. Be good. Play a bunch of games out there. We'll see you later, everybody. Peace.